Poor girl gets 5 wishes from a billionaire. The last one makes him cry. Christopher Hayes snapped his laptop shut with more force than necessary. The sound echoed through the silent office, shattering the monotony of another empty day. 3 meetings cancelled in a row. Not that it mattered much, billions in the bank, a company running like a Swiss watch. But for what? For whom? At 35, Christopher had achieved everything he had dreamed of at 20. A skyscraper with his name etched on the facade, cars that cost more than mansions, Swiss watches that marked an increasingly meaningless time, flavorless success, victories without celebration. The reflection on the black screen of the laptop showed a tired man. Perfectly combed brown hair, an impeccable Italian suit, an imported silk tie. Everything perfect on the outside, everything empty on the inside. Mr. Hayes, the executive lunch has been cancelled. Linda, his secretary, announced over the intercom. Christopher looked out the 30th floor window. Down below, people looked like dots scurrying from one place to another. They all had somewhere to go, someone waiting for them. He had the power to move financial mountains, but no real reason to get out of his chair. Perfect, Christopher muttered, loosening his tie. You know what, Linda? I'm going out for lunch today. Should I book a table at Le Bernardin? Christopher laughed humorlessly. Always the same expensive restaurants, always the same empty conversations. No, I'm going for a walk. Linda seemed to choke. Christopher Hayes never walked. He always used his driver, always followed a schedule planned down to the last minute. Anything urgent can wait until tomorrow, he said, grabbing his jacket. The streets were bustling at lunchtime. Christopher began to walk aimlessly, discovering a city he had only known through the windows of expensive cars. Small shops, families strolling, children running and laughing, real life happening right in front of him. After 20 minutes, he arrived at a square he had never noticed before. It was small and simple, surrounded by old buildings. Wooden benches under old trees, a fountain in the center making a soft noise, a playground with worn-out equipment. Christopher sat on a bench and took a deep breath. The air here was different from the artificial air conditioning of his office. It smelled of life. That's when he saw her. Across the square, on a similar bench, sat a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old. Blonde hair like sunbeams fell in curls over her shoulders. Her blue eyes, even from a distance, Christopher could see they were a deep blue, were fixed on the ground. She swung her little legs back and forth, but there was no joy in the movement. It was mechanical, as if it were just a way to pass the time. Christopher looked around. The square had other people, an old man reading a newspaper, 2 women talking near the fountain, teenagers playing basketball, but no one was paying attention to the girl. Where were her parents? The nanny? Anyone responsible? Christopher felt something tighten in his chest, genuine concern for another person. When was the last time he had felt that? He stood up and walked slowly toward her. The girl looked up when she noticed him approaching. Christopher stopped at a respectful distance. "Hi," he said, trying to sound friendly. The girl studied him with those intelligent blue eyes. There was no fear, just cautious curiosity. "Hi," she replied in a small but clear voice. "May I sit here?" Christopher asked, pointing to the empty space on the bench. She nodded. Christopher sat down, leaving enough space between them. "I'm Christopher, and you are?" "Lily." The name suited her perfectly. Delicate, pure, beautiful, like the flower. "Lily is a very beautiful name," he said. "Are you waiting for someone?" Lily shrugged. "Mrs. Morrison went shopping. She said she'd be right back, but that was a long time ago." Christopher felt a mix of anger and protectiveness. Who leaves a 5-year-old child alone in a public square? "Lily," Christopher said, making a decision he couldn't explain. "I'm going to make you a very special offer." She turned her body toward him, interested. "What kind of offer?" Christopher smiled, the first genuine smile in weeks. "I'm going to give you 5 wishes. You can ask for anything you want." Lily's blue eyes widened. 5 wishes, like in the magic lamp movie. Exactly like in the fairy tales, only better. Because I'm real and I can actually make them happen. Lily fell silent, processing the information. Christopher could see the thoughts racing through her mind. Then, slowly, She raised her little hand and began to count on her fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, she murmured, checking. When she finished, she looked at Christopher with a mix of hope and disbelief. Really 5 wishes? For me? 5 wishes just for you, Lily. A shy smile began to appear on her face. And you'll make everything really happen. I promise. Every wish you make, I will grant. Lily bit her lip, thinking seriously. Can I make the first one now? Of course. What is your first wish? Lily hesitated for only a second. I want a snack. With French fries and a milkshake. Christopher felt something stir inside his chest. 5 wishes, infinite possibilities, and she chose something so simple, so human. What flavor of milkshake? Chocolate, she answered, and for the first time, her face completely lit up. Then let's grant your first wish right now. Christopher stood up and held out his hand. Lily placed her small, trusting hand in his. They walked to a small family diner that Christopher had never noticed before. Nothing fancy, just a cozy place with wooden tables and a handwritten menu. Can we sit at that table by the window? Lily asked. Of course we can. They sat down and Christopher watched Lily study the menu with total concentration. A large order of fries and a large chocolate milkshakes, please, Lily told the waitress, smiling. Christopher ordered a simple sandwich but was more interested in watching Lily. When the food arrived, Christopher witnessed something extraordinary. Lily's eyes literally sparkled. She picked up the first fry as if it were made of gold and savored it slowly, closing her eyes. Wow, she sighed. This is so delicious. Each fry was eaten with reverent care. Each sip of the milkshake was savored as if it were the most precious drink in the universe. A chocolate mustache appeared above Lily's lip, and she giggled, a pure laugh that warmed something in Christopher's soul. Christopher, look. Lily showed him how she had used the straw to make designs in the foam. It's a happy face. Very creative, he said, genuinely smiling. You're an artist. During their meal, Lily talked about the small wonders Christopher had forgotten. Birds building nests in the square, yellow flowers growing in the cracks of the sidewalk, clouds that looked like animals in the sky. When she had finished everything, Lily wiped her mouth and turned to Christopher with gratitude in her eyes. Christopher, she said seriously, thank you so much. That was the best snack of my entire life. You're welcome, Lily. It was my absolute pleasure. Really, I didn't remember how good it felt to eat like this with someone nice and laughing. There was something in her voice that made Christopher realize this simple meal was much more special to her than he had imagined. They walked back to the square. Mrs. Morrison still hadn't appeared. Lily, Christopher said, stopping at the bench where he had found her, I'll come back here tomorrow for you to make your second wish. Her eyes filled with intense hope. Really? You're really coming back? I promise. Same time, same square, and we still have 4 wishes to grant. I'll be here, Lily said, jumping with excitement. I'll think hard about the second wish. You don't have to decide now, you have plenty of time. Lily nodded and sat on the bench, radiating happiness. See you tomorrow, Christopher, and thanks again for the wonderful snack. See you tomorrow, Lily. It was the best lunch I've had in years. Christopher walked away, looking back once. Lily waved enthusiastically. As he walked back to the office, Christopher realized something had changed inside him. For the first time in years, he was looking forward to the next day. Not for a business meeting, but to see a 5-year-old girl make her second wish. And for the first time in a long time, Christopher Hayes felt truly rich. Christopher arrived at the square 15 minutes before the agreed-upon time. He had woken up at 5 in the morning, which was strange considering he usually needed 3 alarms to get out of bed. All morning, he had checked the clock every 5 minutes, as impatient as a child waiting for Christmas. Linda had commented on his different mood when he walked past the reception with a smile on his face, something that hadn't happened in months. He just waved and said he was going out for lunch again. The square was busier than the day before. Children played on the playground while mothers chatted on nearby benches. The elderly man was in the same spot, reading his newspaper. The fountain continued to make the same relaxing sound. Christopher sat on the bench where he had met Lily and waited. Would she really come? Had she thought about her second wish? A part of him feared it had all been just a dream, a momentary break in his empty routine. But then he saw her. Lily was walking through the square with determined steps, looking for him with her eyes. When she found him, her face lit up with a smile that could rival the sun. She waved enthusiastically and started running toward him. "Christopher, you came!" she shouted, stopping in front of the bench, a little out of breath. "Of course I came. So I promised, didn't I?" Christopher smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest he didn't know still existed. "How are you today?" "Very well. I thought about the second wish all night. I dreamed about it too." Lily sat on the bench next to him, swinging her legs with energy. Christopher laughed. "So, have you decided what the second one is?" Lily's blue eyes sparkled with excitement. "Yes, can I say it?" "Of course. This is the moment." Lily took a deep breath, as if preparing to make the most important request of her life. "I want a dress," she said in a clear, determined voice. Christopher nodded. "A dress? What kind of dress do you want, Lily?" "A pretty dress. To feel like a princess," she explained, gesturing with her little hands. "I've never had a dress that was just mine. The ones I wear are always hand-me-downs or too big." Once again, Christopher felt that tightness in his chest. A 5-year-old girl who had never had her own dress. How was that possible? "Then we'll find the prettiest dress in the city for you," he said, standing up. "Do you know any clothing stores around here?" Lily shook her head. "I've never been inside a dress shop." "Then today will be your first time. Let's do this right." They walked through the streets until they found a small but charming shop specializing in children's clothes. The window was decorated with small mannequins wearing colorful and cheerful outfits. "Wow," Lily murmured, stopping in front of the window. "There are so many colors." "Let's go inside and see them up close," Christopher encouraged. A friendly saleswoman approached as soon as they entered. "May I help you?" "We're looking for a special dress for Lily here," Christopher explained. "Oh, how wonderful. We have many beautiful options. What size do you wear, sweetie?" the saleswoman asked, bending down to Lily's level. "I don't know," Lily answered shyly. "No problem. We'll figure it out together." "And what colors do you like?" Lily looked around the store, her eyes wide at so many options. There were dresses of every imaginable color: pink, blue, yellow, green, purple, red. "I like all of them," she whispered. The saleswoman laughed gently. "Then let's try on a few and see which one looks prettiest on you." She selected 3 different dresses and took Lily to the fitting room. Christopher waited outside, listening to their excited conversation. "This one is very pretty," the saleswoman was saying. "Shall we see how it looks?" After a few minutes, Lily came out of the fitting room wearing a blue dress with small white lace details. She seemed shy and insecure. "What do you think?" the saleswoman asked. "It's pretty," Lily replied, but Christopher noticed there was no real enthusiasm in her voice. "Want to try another one?" he suggested. Lily nodded and went back into the fitting room. The second dress was pink with a large bow on the back. Lily came out and did a little twirl, but again, Christopher felt it wasn't quite what she was looking for. "And the third one?" he asked. When Lily came out of the fitting room for the 3rd time, Christopher knew immediately they had found the right dress. It was a floral dress, a white background covered with small flowers in shades of pink, yellow, and light green. The sleeves were short and puffy, the full skirt reached her knees, and there was a thin matching belt at the waist. But the most important thing was the expression on Lily's face. Her eyes shone with genuine happiness, and a huge smile took over her face. "This one," she exclaimed. "This is the one I want." "Are you sure?" Christopher asked, though he already knew the answer. "Absolutely. Look how pretty it is." Lily ran to the large mirror in the store and stood admiring herself. Then something happened that Christopher would never forget. Lily began to twirl in front of the mirror. Slowly at first, then faster. Watching the skirt of the floral dress fan out like a colorful umbrella, she laughed, a pure, crystalline laugh, full of genuine joy. "Look, Christopher! Look how it flies!" Lily kept twirling, fascinated by the way the dress danced with her movements. Christopher felt his eyes well up with tears he didn't know were there. When was the last time he had witnessed such pure and simple happiness? "You look beautiful, Lily. A real princess," he said, and every word was absolutely sincere. "Really?" she asked, stopping her twirl and looking at herself in the mirror with attention. "Really?" The saleswoman smiled, clearly touched by the scene. "This dress was made for you, dear. It's perfect." "Can I wear it now to leave?" Lily asked hopefully. "Of course you can," Christopher replied. "We'll put the clothes you were wearing in a bag." While the saleswoman prepared the purchase, Lily couldn't stop looking at herself in the mirror. She gently touched the printed flowers, smoothed the skirt, adjusted the sleeves. It was as if she were discovering a new version of herself. "Christopher," she said, turning to him seriously, "thank you so much. I feel different, pretty. You've always been pretty, Lily. The dress is just showing what was already there." When they left the store, Lily couldn't stop admiring her reflection in the shop windows they passed. At every mirror or reflective surface, she did a little twirl to see the floral dress spin. "You know what the best part is," she said as they walked back to the square. "What?" "It's mine, just mine. No one else will wear it." She touched the skirt of the dress lovingly. "I've never had anything that was just mine." Christopher stopped walking. "What do you mean, Lily?" "The clothes I wear have always belonged to other people. I get them from church bazaars or their hand-me-downs. But this," she twirled one more time, "this is my floral dress." They arrived at the square, and Lily couldn't stop twirling. She tested different types of movements to see how the skirt reacted. Fast spins, slow spins, little jumps that made the dress float. "Christopher," she said after a moment, breathless from all the spinning. "Yes." "How many wishes do I still have?" Christopher counted on his fingers with her. "You made the first one yesterday, the snack. Today was the second, the floral dress. You still have 3 wishes left." "3?" she repeated thoughtfully, smoothing the skirt of her dress. "I'll think carefully about the next ones. There's no rush. We have time. And tomorrow, I'll come back here wearing my floral dress to make the 3rd wish," she said, her eyes shining with excitement. "I'll be waiting." "Same time, same square." "Same time, same square," she repeated, as if it were a sacred oath. Lily said goodbye with a big wave, walking through the square with dancing steps. The skirt of the floral dress swayed with every movement, and she stopped every few feet to admire herself in any reflective surface she could find. "See you tomorrow, Christopher. And thank you for the most beautiful dress in the world." Christopher watched her walk away, his heart lighter than it had been in years. A 5-year-old girl, a floral dress, and the purest joy he had ever witnessed. For the 2nd day in a row, Christopher Hayes went home knowing he had done something that truly mattered. Christopher was at the square again, 15 minutes before the agreed-upon time. This time he had brought a coffee and a donut, turning the wait into a pleasant break. He watched the people go by, mothers pushing strollers, children running, dogs being walked. Simple life happening all around him. His morning routine had completely changed. He woke up earlier, with energy, looking forward to meeting Lily. Linda had commented that he seemed like a different person. Lighter, more human. Christopher didn't disagree. When he saw Lily approaching the square, he couldn't help but smile. She was wearing the floral dress just as she had promised. The skirt swayed as she walked, and even from a distance, Christopher could see the joy in the way she moved. "Christopher!" Lily waved excitedly when she saw him. "I came." "And you look beautiful in your floral dress," he replied, standing up from the bench. Lily twirled quickly to show off the dress. "It's still perfect. I took very good care of it yesterday. I can see that. It looks brand new." They sat on their usual bench. Lily carefully smoothed her skirt before settling down. "So," Christopher said, "have you thought about the 3rd wish?" Lily's eyes sparkled. "I have, and I dreamed about it too. Actually, it's something I've always wanted." "What is it?" Lily looked down at her hands for a moment, as if gathering courage. "I want a doll," she said finally, looking directly at Christopher. "A doll," he repeated, smiling. "What kind of doll would you like?" "A real doll, you know, the ones that look like real babies." With soft hair and eyes that open and close, Lily gestured with her hands, trying to describe what she had in mind. Christopher nodded. I know the ones. Have you never had a doll, Lily? She shook her head sadly. Never. I've always wanted a friend to talk to play with, to take care of. The other girls in the neighborhood have dolls, but I can only watch. Once again, Christopher felt that familiar tightness in his chest. How could a 5-year-old child go without having a toy of her own? Then we'll find the most special doll that exists, he said, standing up. Do you know any toy stores? I know where one is. I always stop in front of the window to look, Lily admitted. Then lead the way. They walked through the streets, with Lily guiding the way. She would stop occasionally to adjust her dress or to point out something interesting. A cat sleeping in the sun, flowers growing between the paving stones, birds building a nest. It's here, Lily said, stopping in front of a colorful toy store. The window was filled with dolls, cars, stuffed animals, and games. Christopher watched Lily gaze at the window with wide-eyed admiration. It was as if she were looking at a treasure chest. Which doll catches your eye the most? He asked. Lily pointed to a doll in the center of the display. It had curly blonde hair, blue eyes that opened and closed, and wore a light pink dress with lace details. That one, she whispered. She's the prettiest. Let's go inside and see her up close. The store owner, a kind-looking gentleman with gray hair, greeted them as they entered. Good afternoon. How can I help you? My friend here is interested in that doll from the window, Christopher explained, pointing to the one Lily had chosen. Ah, an excellent choice. That's one of our premium dolls, very realistic. Natural hair, eyes that blink. She even cries real tears. The man went to the window and carefully picked up the doll. When he brought it to them, Lily practically stopped breathing. Can I hold her? She asked shyly. Of course, dear. The moment the doll was placed in Lily's arms was magical. Her eyes filled with tears of joy, and she held the toy against her chest, as if it were the most precious thing in the world. She's perfect, Lily murmured, stroking the doll's hair. Look how soft her hair is, Christopher. Christopher watched, fascinated, as Lily explored every detail of the doll. She gently touched its little face, its tiny fingers, the pink dress. And she blinks, Lily exclaimed, when the doll closed its eyes as she laid it down. It's like she's a real baby. Do you want this one for sure? Christopher asked, though he already knew the answer. I do, more than anything in the world. While Christopher talked to the store owner about the payment, Lily didn't let go of the doll. She rocked it gently, whispering sweet words. You're going to be my best friend, she said to the doll. I'm going to take very good care of you. I'll give you a pretty name, too. Have you thought of a name? Christopher asked. Lily thought for a moment, looking at the doll. Rosie, she said finally, because of her pink dress. And because she's as beautiful as a rose. Rosie is a perfect name. When they left the store, Lily carried Rosie in her arms as if she were a real baby. She walked slowly, carefully, protecting her new friend. She's so light, Lily commented, but she feels so real. They walked back to the square and sat on the bench. Lily settled the doll on her lap, adjusting the pink dress and combing its hair with her fingers. Christopher, she said, looking at him with gratitude in her eyes, thank you. For the first time in my life, I have a friend who's all mine. You're welcome, Lily. She'll be great company. Lily hugged the doll tighter. Now I can talk to someone when I feel lonely. I can tell her secrets, play with her, take care of her like she's my own little girl. Christopher watched how naturally Lily interacted with the doll, as if it were a real person. There was so much longing for affection and companionship in that little girl that it was heartbreaking. Rosie, Lily said to the doll, this is Christopher. He's our special friend. He's the one who brought you to me. She made the doll wave at Christopher by gently moving its little arm. A pleasure to meet you, Rosie, Christopher said, playing along. Lily laughed, delighted. She likes you. I can tell by the way she smiled. For a few minutes, they sat there in the square, with Lily introducing Rosie to everything around them. The trees, the birds, the fountain, other visitors in the square. The doll was treated like a real person, with conversations, cuddles, and even kisses on the forehead. How many wishes do I have left? Lily asked, still rocking Rosie. 2, Christopher answered. The snack, the dress, the doll. 2 wishes remain. 2, she repeated thoughtfully. I'll think carefully. But for now, I'm so happy with Rosie. She kissed the doll's forehead and hugged it again. You know what the best part is, she said. What? Now I'll never feel lonely again. Rosie will always be with me. I'll tell her everything, all my secrets, all my dreams. Christopher felt a lump in his throat. The loneliness of a 5-year-old child was something he couldn't accept. And tomorrow, he asked. Tomorrow I'll come back here with Rosie to make the 4th wish, Lily said excitedly. She's going to see our special place. We'll be waiting. Same time, same square. Same time, same square, she repeated, making the doll wave too. Lily stood up carefully, protecting Rosie. Let's go home, Rosie. I have so much to show you. She turned to Christopher. Thank you, Christopher. Rosie is the most beautiful gift I've ever received in my life. It was my pleasure, Lily. Take good care of each other. We will, bye. Christopher watched Lily walk away, walking slowly and talking softly to the doll. She stopped a few times along the way to show things to Rosie. A passing dog, flowers in a garden bed, children playing. For the 3rd day in a row, Christopher Hayes went home with a full heart. A girl, a doll, and a friendship that would change 2 lives forever. Christopher arrived at the square for the 4th consecutive time, and this time he brought 2 bottles of water. He had checked the weather forecast. It would be a perfect day for any outdoor activity. The sun was shining in a clear blue sky, with a few white clouds scattered like cotton balls. He sat on their usual bench and waited, watching the usual activity in the square. He already recognized a few faces: the elderly man with his newspaper, the woman who walked her poodle, the children who played on the playground after school. Then he saw Lily approaching, and his heart warmed as always. She was walking slowly, wearing her floral dress and carrying Rosie carefully in her arms. The doll was dressed in the same pink dress from yesterday, but Lily had braided the doll's hair into a small braid. Christopher, Lily waved with her free hand. Look, Rosie is all dressed up to see you. Good morning, ladies, Christopher smiled, getting up. How are you both today? Very well. Rosie slept with me last night. She's very well behaved. She didn't cry even once, Lily said, rocking the doll. And guess what? She said she really liked you yesterday. That's good to know. I really enjoyed meeting Rosie too. They sat on the bench with Lily settling the doll on her lap with great care. So, Christopher said, have you decided what the 4th wish will be? Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement. Yes, and it's different from the others. How is it different? Lily took a deep breath, as if about to make the most important request of her life. I want a day at the park with you, Christopher. Christopher blinked, surprised. A day at the park? With me? Yes? Lily nodded enthusiastically. I don't want a thing. I want to do something. I want to spend the whole day playing and laughing with you, like a family does. There was something in her voice that made Christopher's heart ache. Like a family. I've never had a real outing. You know, the kind where you walk, play, get ice cream, laugh a lot, Lily explained, her eyes dreamy. I always see other families doing that. Now I want to do it too. Christopher felt a lump in his throat. Of course, Lily. It would be an honor to spend the day with you two. Lily's face lit up completely. Really? Really? We're going to have the most special day out you've ever had. Christopher knew of a large park a few blocks away. It was perfect, with a playground, a pond with ducks, walking trails, picnic areas, and even a small snack bar. Perfect for a full day of fun. Shall we go? He asked, holding out his hand. Lily took his hand with one of hers, while holding Rosie tightly with the other. We're ready. The walk to the park was a journey of discovery. Lily stopped constantly to show things to Rosie. A cat in a window, colorful flowers, a friendly dog that wagged its tail at them. Oh, look, Rosie, Lily would say. That bird is blue just like your eyes. Christopher watched, fascinated, how Lily included the doll in everything. It wasn't just a game. To her, Rosie was a real companion. When they arrived at the park, Lily stopped at the entrance and stared in awe. Wow, it's huge, she whispered. The park was indeed impressive. Tall trees provided shade. The pond sparkled in the sun. Families were having picnics on the grass, and children were running and playing everywhere. "Where do we start?" Christopher asked. "The swings," Lily said immediately. "I've always wanted to swing really high." They went to the playground area. Christopher helped Lily get settled on a swing, with Rosie held securely in her lap. "Hold on tight to Rosie," he said. "I'm going to push you." "Slowly at first," Lily requested. "Rosie's never been on a swing." Christopher started with gentle pushes. Lily giggled with each movement, holding the doll and explaining everything to her. "We're flying, Rosie. Look how small the world looks down there." Gradually, the pushes got stronger. Lily squealed with joy with each back and forth, her blonde hair flying in the wind, the floral dress dancing with the motion. "Higher, Christopher. Rosie wants to fly." For 20 minutes, they played on the swings. Then they went to the slide, where Lily went down several times with Rosie on her lap, laughing with each descent. "Your turn, Christopher," she said. "I'm too big for the slide," Christopher laughed. "No one is too big to have fun," Lily insisted. "Rosie said she wants to see you slide too." Christopher looked around. A few people were watching, but Lily was looking at him with such expectation that he couldn't refuse. "All right, but if I break the slide, it's your fault." He climbed the steps and went down the slide, feeling ridiculous but hearing Lily's delighted laughter. When he reached the bottom, she was clapping. "That was amazing. Now let's go on the seesaw." They spent a full hour on the playground. Christopher had completely forgotten about his image as a serious executive. Here, he was just a man playing with a 5-year-old girl and her doll. "I'm hungry," Lily said finally, settling Rosie in her arms. "Rosie is hungry too. How about a snack at the park's snack bar? There's a snack bar here." "There is, and they make the best hot dogs in the city." Lily's eyes lit up. "I've never had a hot dog." They went to the small snack bar. Christopher ordered 2 hot dogs and 2 lemonades. Lily insisted on ordering water for Rosie as well. They sat at a wooden table under a large tree. Lily placed Rosie in the chair next to her, as if she were a third person at lunch. "Is it good?" Christopher asked, watching Lily savor the hot dog. "Delicious," Rosie said. "It smells wonderful." After their snack, they walked to the pond to see the ducks. Lily was enchanted when the ducks came closer, hoping for food. "They're so cute. Look, Rosie, that one has a white spot on its head." Christopher bought a small bag of duck feed from a nearby kiosk. Lily distributed it carefully, always explaining to Rosie what was happening. "This one's for you, little duck, and this one's for your friend over there." Rosie said, "You are very polite." They spent an hour feeding the ducks and watching other birds on the pond. Lily made up names for each duck and created stories about their lives. "That one is named Mr. Wiggles, and he's married to Mrs. Feathers. They have 3 ducklings and live in that little house on the island." As the afternoon went on, they explored the park's trails, played hide-and-seek among the trees, had running races, always letting Lily win, and stopped whenever she wanted to show something special to Rosie. "Ice cream!" Lily shouted when she saw the ice cream cart. "Please, Christopher." "Rosie has never seen ice cream." "Of course. What flavor do you want?" "Strawberry." "And Rosie wants—" She pretended to hear the doll whisper in her ear. "She wants chocolate." Christopher bought the 2 popsicles, and they sat on the grass under a tree. Lily alternated between eating her popsicle and giving little bites to Rosie. "Is it good, Rosie? I knew you'd like chocolate." It was almost 5 in the afternoon when they found a perfect spot to rest, a small hill with a view of the entire park. Lily lay on the grass with Rosie in her arms, and Christopher sat beside her. "This was the best day of my life," Lily said, looking at the sky. "Ours too, right, Rosie?" Christopher smiled. "It was special for me too, Lily." They were silent for a few minutes, just watching the clouds go by. Lily rocked Rosie gently, humming a soft song. It was then that she said something that changed everything. "Christopher," she said, still looking at the sky, "can I ask you something that isn't a wish?" "Of course. What is it?" Lily turned to look directly at him. There were tears in her blue eyes. "Can you be my dad?" The world stopped for Christopher. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning. "Lily, I know it's a strange thing to ask," she continued quickly, the words tumbling out, "but I've never had a dad, and you're the nicest person I've ever met. You make me laugh. You make me feel important. You give me pretty things." Christopher felt his eyes well up with tears. "Lily, where are your parents?" The question he had avoided asking for 4 days finally came out. Lily hugged Rosie tighter and the tears began to stream down her face. "My mommy died 2 months ago," she said, in a small, broken voice. She got very sick and went to heaven. After she died, I went to live with Mrs. Morrison, who is an elderly neighbor. She shares the little she has with me and lets me sleep on her living room sofa. She's very good to me, but it's hard for her." Christopher felt his heart break into pieces. Her 5-year-old orphan, living with an elderly neighbor, with no one to play with or give her affection. "And my dad," Lily continued. "My mommy never talked about him. She said he left before I was born and never came back. So I've never had a dad." Christopher's tears fell without him being able to control them. "Lily, that's why I wanted to ask you," she sobbed. "Could you be my dad? I would be a very good daughter, I promise. I wouldn't cause any trouble. And Rosie would be well behaved too." Christopher couldn't hold back any longer. He pulled Lily into a tight hug, with Rosie between them. "Lily," he said in a choked voice, "you will never be alone again." "Really?" she asked against his chest. "Really?" "I promise." They stayed in their embrace for long minutes as the sun began to set over the park. Lily cried with relief and hope. Christopher cried for all the time she had felt alone. "So you'll be my dad?" she asked when they separated. Christopher held her little face in his hands, wiping away her tears. "Lily, I will do whatever it takes to be your dad. Legally, for real, forever." The smile that lit up Lily's face was like the sunrise. Forever, forever. She hugged him again, and this time, Rosie was included in the hug too. "Did you hear, Rosie? We have a daddy now." Christopher hugged them both, his daughter and her doll, knowing that his life had changed forever. He had come to this park as a lonely man granting a child's wish. He was leaving as a father. "Shall we go home?" he asked. "Let's go," Lily said, taking his hand. "Our home." As they walked back along the park trail with Lily between him and Rosie, recounting everything they had done during the day, Christopher knew he had found what he had been searching for his whole life. It wasn't money. It wasn't professional success. It was this, a 5-year-old girl, a doll named Rosie, and the chance to be a father. For the first time in 35 years, Christopher Hayes was complete. The day after the park outing, Christopher woke up even before his alarm went off. The conversation with Lily had changed everything. He couldn't get the image of her sleeping on a sofa out of his mind, sharing what little an elderly neighbor had to offer. A 5-year-old child deserved so much more than that. Throughout the night, he had thought about how to proceed. He couldn't just take Lily from Mrs. Morrison's house without talking to the woman first, but he also couldn't bear the thought of his daughter, because now she truly was his daughter, spending another night on an uncomfortable sofa. He arrived at the square earlier than usual, anxious to put into practice what he had decided during the sleepless hours. The day was perfect, with a bright sun and a gentle breeze that made the tree leaves dance. Lily appeared a few minutes later, as always wearing her floral dress and carrying Rosie in her arms. Her face lit up when she saw him. "Good morning, Daddy," she said, running to hug him. Christopher's heart melted at the word Daddy. He wasn't used to it yet, but every time she said it, he felt a warmth spread through his chest. "Good morning, my daughter. How did you two sleep?" "Well, I told Rosie all about yesterday, about you being my dad now, about the park, about everything. She was so happy that we have a real family." They sat on their usual bench, but Christopher noticed he was more nervous than usual. There was something important he needed to do today. "Lily," he began, fidgeting with his hands, "I want to show you something today." "The 5th wish?" she asked excitedly, adjusting Rosie on her lap. "Not yet. It's something different but very important. I want to take you to my house." Lily's eyes widened like saucers. "To your house? Really? Really? I want you to see where I live. And..." He took a deep breath, gathering courage. "I want to make a very special proposal." "What kind of proposal?" "You'll understand when we get there. It's a surprise." "Shall we go?" Christopher hailed a cab. The driver, a friendly middle-aged man, smiled when he saw Lily carefully get in with Rosie. "What a beautiful doll," he commented. "What's her name?" "Rosie," Lily replied proudly. "She's my best friend." During the ride, Lily was glued to the window, observing everything with insatiable curiosity. As they moved away from the city center, the houses grew larger and more spread out. The buildings gave way to elegant residences with well-kept gardens. "Wow, the houses here are huge," Lily commented, her nose pressed against the glass. "They're like real castles." "Some of them are very big indeed," Christopher agreed, watching her fascination. "The people who live here must be very rich," she continued innocently. "It must be nice to have a big house like this." Christopher smiled sadly. He had always had material wealth in abundance, but only now, with Lily by his side, was he discovering what it truly meant to be rich. When the cab turned onto the street where Christopher's mansion was located, the houses became even more imposing. Immaculate gardens, elegant gates, architecture that impressed even those accustomed to the neighborhood. Finally, the cab stopped in front of the gate of Christopher's mansion. Lily was silent for a few seconds, processing what she was seeing. The property was impressive even by the standards of the upscale neighborhood. An ornate iron gate, with intricate artistic details, opened onto a driveway lined with century-old trees. The mansion itself was an elegant three-story building with classical architecture, huge windows, and a columned veranda that wrapped around the entire front of the house. "Christopher," Lily whispered, still looking through the cab window, her voice full of awe. "Is this house yours?" "It is." "Do you live all alone in such a big house?" The simple question hit Christopher like a punch to the gut. For years, he had been proud of the grandeur of his property. Now, seeing it through the eyes of a child, he realized how absurdly large it was for just one person. "I do. I've always lived here alone. But it must be so lonely." Christopher swallowed hard. Lily's innocence was sometimes devastating in its honesty. The gate opened automatically when Christopher entered the code on the intercom. The cab proceeded down the cobblestone driveway to the main entrance. "It's even more beautiful up close," Lily murmured, getting out of the car and looking up, trying to see the top of the mansion. "It looks like those castles from the movies." "Come," Christopher said, holding out his hand. "Shall I want to show you everything?" The main door, a piece of solid wood with hand-carved details, opened into an entrance hall that impressed even Christopher as he saw it through Lily's eyes. The ceiling was absurdly high, with a skylight that let in natural light. A crystal chandelier that had cost a fortune hung from the center, creating prismatic reflections on the walls. The curved Carrara marble staircase ascended majestically to the second floor. "Wow!" Lily spun slowly in the center of the hall, trying to take it all in. "It's like a real palace." "Look, Rosie," she said to the doll, lifting it up so it could see us too. "We're in a real palace. Just like in the fairy tales." Christopher smiled, seeing his house through a child's eyes for the first time in decades. For years, he hadn't paid attention to the grandeur of the place. To him, it had become just an empty, silent space, no matter how luxurious. "Shall we see the rest?" he asked. They walked through the main rooms on the ground floor. The living room was spacious, with a marble fireplace, Italian leather sofas, and works of art on the walls. The library had shelves that went from the floor to the very high ceiling, filled with books Christopher rarely touched. The formal dining room had a mahogany table for 12, with an even more elaborate crystal chandelier than the one in the hall. In each room, Lily made enchanted comments, always including Rosie in her observations. "So many books. Rosie loves stories, right, Rosie? This table is bigger than Mrs. Morrison's whole apartment. Wow, you could have a huge party here." In the kitchen, which was modern and equipped with professional appliances, Lily was particularly impressed. "How you could cook for 100 people in here. There are 2 ovens, Christopher. Rosie has never seen a kitchen like this." "Do you like to cook, Lily?" "I do. Mrs. Morrison sometimes lets me help make cookies, but her kitchen is tiny. It only has one little old stove." Another pang in Christopher's heart. Lily deserved so much more than what she had. When they went up to the second floor, Christopher showed her his office with a view of the garden, a few elegantly decorated but rarely used guest rooms, and his master suite with a closet the size of a normal bedroom. Finally, they stopped in front of a closed door at the end of the hallway. "And this one?" Lily asked, curious. "This room has been empty for a long time," Christopher said, placing his hand on the doorknob. "In fact, it's never been used." He opened the door slowly. It was a large, bright room with huge windows that offered a panoramic view of the back garden. Sunlight streamed in, creating golden patterns on the hardwood floor. The room was completely empty, except for a few dusty boxes leaning against one wall. Lily walked in slowly, her footsteps echoing in the empty space. She looked around in awe. "It's very pretty and big, bigger than Mrs. Morrison's whole living room." "Lily," Christopher said, kneeling to be at her level, his heart pounding, "this is your home now too. And this room. I'm going to make a special room just for you." Lily's eyes instantly filled with tears. My room. Your room. Just yours. You can decorate it however you want. Choose the colors, the furniture, the toys. Everything just the way you've always dreamed." Lily dropped Rosie, who fell softly onto the wooden floor, and ran to hug Christopher with all the strength her 5-year-old legs could muster. "Really, Daddy, I'm going to have my own room." "You are, my daughter, just the way you've always wanted." They hugged for long minutes, their tears mingling. Christopher felt as if a part of him that had been empty for 35 years was finally being filled. "And can Rosie live here too?" Lily asked when they separated. "Of course, she's part of the family now." Lily stepped back and picked Rosie up from the floor, cuddling her affectionately. "Did you hear, Rosie? We're going to have our own room. A real room, not a sofa." She spun around the empty room, her arms outstretched, imagining the infinite possibilities. "Can I really choose everything? The colors, the furniture, everything. Everything. We'll go to a store today for you to choose." "Today?" "Today. I don't want you to spend another night sleeping on a sofa." Christopher knew the best children's furniture and decor store in the city. It was a huge establishment, with 3 floors dedicated exclusively to themed rooms for children. Elaborate showrooms that looked like they were straight out of a design magazine. When they arrived, Lily was completely mesmerized at the entrance. "Wow," she murmured, looking at the 3 floors filled with colorful displays. "It's big, isn't it?" Christopher smiled. "It's huge. Look, Rosie, there are rooms of every possible kind." A friendly saleswoman, a middle-aged lady with a warm smile, approached them. "Good afternoon. How can I help you?" "We're looking for a complete room for Lily," Christopher explained. "How wonderful! How old are you, sweetie?" 5, Lily answered shyly. 5 years old. The perfect age to have a dream room. "Shall we look at the options?" There were rooms decorated in various themes: princesses, fairies, forest animals, sports, space adventure, pirates, butterflies, unicorns. Each showroom was a work of art in itself. "Can I choose anyone?" Lily asked, impressed by so many options. "Anyone. Or we can mix elements from several to create something unique just for you." They began to walk slowly through the showrooms. Lily stopped at each one, studying it in detail, always explaining everything to Rosie as if the doll could offer an opinion. "Look, Rosie, this bed looks like a princess carriage. This wardrobe has a real mirror, just like in the movies. This armchair is tiny, just our size." The saleswoman accompanying them was clearly enjoying Lily's genuine enthusiasm. "So, dear, which theme catches your eye the most?" Lily spent over an hour meticulously analyzing all the options. Christopher watched her, patient and enchanted, noticing how seriously she was taking the decision. For her, it wasn't just choosing furniture, it was choosing what her new life would be like. Finally, after much deliberation, she stopped in front of a specific showroom and stared for long minutes in absolute silence. It was a princess-themed room, but executed with elegance and taste. The colors were soft and harmonious, light pink, pearl white, and delicate gold. The bed was shaped like a carriage, but with elegant lines, not exaggerated. There was a small vanity with a round mirror and golden edges, a wardrobe with carved details, a cushioned reading armchair, shelves at the right height for books and toys, and even a small transparent canopy on the ceiling that created the impression of a starry sky when the special lights were turned on. "This one," Lily said finally, with absolute certainty in her voice. "Are you sure?" Christopher asked, wanting to make sure she wasn't rushing. "I'm sure. I want a princess room." She turned to him, her eyes shining with pure happiness and excitement. "It will be perfect for me and Rosie. Look, it even has a vanity where I can brush her hair every day. And an armchair to read stories to her." Christopher smiled, already imagining the empty space in his mansion transformed into that magical environment. He could already picture Lily every morning getting ready at the vanity, playing in the reading chair with Rosie, sleeping in the princess bed, storing her treasures on the shelves. "Then it's decided," he said solemnly. "A princess room for Princess Lily. And for Princess Rosie too," Lily added, lifting the doll so it could see the chosen room. The saleswoman smiled warmly. "You have very good taste. It's one of our most beautiful and elegant rooms." Christopher discussed all the details with the saleswoman: delivery times, installation, room measurements, included accessories. Since he was a known customer at the store, having bought furniture for the entire mansion a few years ago, they promised to expedite the whole process. "When will it be ready?" Lily asked anxiously, barely able to contain her excitement. "In 3 days, sweetie," the saleswoman replied with a smile. "We'll work quickly for you." 3 days! Lily jumped with excitement, hugging Rosie. "Did you hear, Rosie? In 3 days, we'll have our princess room." While Christopher finalized all the purchase and payment details, Lily continued to explore the showroom, gently touching each piece, as if wanting to memorize every detail. "Dear Christopher," she said when he finished signing the papers, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, my daughter." "Why are you doing all this for me? I'm just a girl you found alone in the square." Christopher knelt again to be at her level, holding her small hands. "Lily, you're not just a girl. You're the daughter I always wanted and never knew I was looking for. And every daughter deserves to have a dream room. And every doll too," Lily added, hugging Rosie. "And every doll too," Christopher agreed, laughing. On the way back to the mansion, Lily couldn't stop talking about the new room. "I'll put Rosie to sleep on the vanity every night, and I'll read stories to her in the armchair. And when I grow up, if the room gets too small, will you help me choose a new one? I'll help you with everything you need, always." When they arrived back at the mansion, Christopher took Lily to the empty room again. She stood in the center of the room, spinning slowly, now with a completely different view of the space. "In 3 days, everything will be different here," she murmured, amazed. "It will be my real room." "It will, and you'll sleep in a princess bed, not on a sofa." Lily ran to hug him one more time, with a force that almost knocked him over. "Thank you, Daddy, for everything. For finding me, for giving me 5 wishes, for taking me to the park, for giving me a home, for giving me a room, for giving me a family." "Thank you," Christopher replied, his voice thick with emotion, "for giving me a reason to live." They stayed in the empty room for a few more minutes, each lost in their own thoughts and dreams. Lily sat on the floor, leaning against the wall and with Rosie nestled in her arms. Christopher leaned against the window, watching his daughter daydream about her new room. "Daddy," Lily said after a long, contemplative silence. "Yes. I still have the 5th wish, right? You do." "What are you thinking?" Lily smiled, a mysterious and meaningful smile that Christopher couldn't quite decipher. "I'll think about it a little more. I want it to be the most special one of all. There's no hurry. We have a lifetime." "A lifetime," Lily repeated, savoring the sound of the words. "Me, you, and Rosie. A real family." Christopher looked out the window of the empty room, imagining what it would be like to wake up every day knowing Lily was there, playing, laughing, filling that huge house with life and joy. In 3 days, that space would be transformed into a princess room. But the most important transformation had already happened. A lonely man had become a father, an empty mansion had become a home, and an orphan girl had found her forever family. 3 days passed quickly since the choice of the princess room. Christopher had personally overseen every step of the installation, making sure every detail was perfect. The empty room had transformed into a true work of art, delicate, elegant, and absolutely magical. Now, sitting in the square for the 7th consecutive time, Christopher felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. Lily had spent her first night in her new room, and he couldn't wait to hear how the experience had been. When he saw her approaching, wearing the floral dress and carrying Rosie, his heart leaped. But there was something different in the way she walked. She seemed more confident, more at home. "Christopher!" she shouted, running to hug him. "It was the best night of my life. Tell me everything," he said, pulling her to sit beside him. "The room is even more beautiful than it was in the store. And you know what's the most amazing part? When I woke up this morning, for a few seconds, I forgot where I was. Then I remembered, I'm in my house, in my room, in my princess bed." Lily's eyes shone with a happiness Christopher had never seen before, and Rosie loved it too. "Right, Rosie," she said to the doll. She slept on the vanity and said she felt like a real princess. Christopher laughed, watching how Lily included Rosie in absolutely everything. "Lily," he said, taking advantage of her happy moment, "can I ask you a question?" "Of course. You can ask anything." Christopher took a deep breath. It was a question that had been bothering him for days, but it needed to be asked. "About your father. Can you tell me about him?" The expression on Lily's face changed slightly. It wasn't sadness, but a sort of quiet resignation. "I never met him," she said simply. "Mommy never talked about him. It was always just me and Mommy." Never. She never once mentioned anything. Lily shook her head, adjusting Rosie on her lap. "I asked once, when I saw other kids with their dads. Mommy got very sad and said that some families are different, that some have a mommy and a daddy, some just a mommy, some just a daddy, and that our family was me and her, and that was perfect." Christopher felt his heart ache. A single mother raising a daughter alone, and then leaving this world, leaving the child completely orphaned. "And you never wondered what he was like?" "Sometimes," Lily admitted, "especially when I saw other dads playing with their kids. I would imagine what it would be like to have a dad who took me for walks, who told me stories, who made me laugh." She paused and looked directly at Christopher. "But now I know. It's exactly like you." Lily's words struck Christopher like a bolt of lightning. He felt his eyes well up with tears that he struggled to hold back. "Lily, it's true. You take me for walks, you make me laugh, you give me presents, you made me a beautiful room. You're exactly the dad I always dreamed of having." Christopher could no longer hold back his tears. He pulled Lily into a tight hug, feeling as if his heart would burst with emotion. "And you're exactly the daughter I always dreamed of having," he murmured against her blonde hair. They stayed in their embrace for long minutes, with Rosie squeezed between them. When they separated, Christopher wiped away his tears and made a decision. "Lily, I need to tell you something important." "What is it?" "I want to make this official. I want to legally adopt you. I want you to be my daughter, not just in my heart, but on paper too." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Really? But first I need to talk to Mrs. Morrison. She took care of you when you needed it most, and she deserves to know our plans." Lily nodded seriously. "She's very good. She'll be happy for me." "I have an idea," Christopher said. "How about we organize a dinner at the mansion, me, you, Rosie, and Mrs. Morrison? We can talk calmly and officially announce our decision. A real dinner with the whole family." "With the whole family?" Lily jumped with excitement. "When?" "Tonight, if Mrs. Morrison is free." "She will be. She never has plans at night." Christopher smiled at Lily's honesty. "Then it's settled. Let's go invite her now." They walked to Mrs. Morrison's house. It was a small apartment, in an old but well-kept building. Christopher had never been there and was surprised by the simplicity of the place where Lily had lived. Mrs. Morrison answered the door, a lady with grey hair, a kind face marked by age, wearing a simple but clean dress. "Lily, dear, and you must be the Christopher she never stops talking about." "A pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Morrison," Christopher said, extending his hand. "The pleasure is all mine. Please, come in." The apartment was tiny, a room that served as a living room and bedroom, a small kitchen, a bathroom. Christopher saw the sofa where Lily had slept for 2 months and felt his heart ache. "Mrs. Morrison," he began, "I'd like to invite you to dinner at my house tonight. There's something important we need to discuss." "Oh, my dear boy, you don't need to trouble yourself." "It's no trouble," Christopher insisted. "You took care of Lily when she needed it most. It's the least I can do." The lady looked at Lily, who was beaming. "Please, Mrs. Morrison," Lily pleaded, "I want you to see my new room." "Your new room?" "Christopher gave me a princess room, with a carriage-shaped bed and everything." Mrs. Morrison looked from Lily to Christopher, trying to understand the situation. "We can talk more over dinner," Christopher said gently. "At 7 o'clock?" "All right," she agreed. "But let me bring something." "You don't need to bring anything, just your presence." At 7 o'clock sharp, the mansion's doorbell rang. Christopher went to open the door himself, finding Mrs. Morrison in her best dress and a small bouquet of flowers from her garden. "What a beautiful house," she murmured as she entered the hall. "Mrs. Morrison!" Lily appeared, running down the stairs, wearing a new dress Christopher had bought her. "Come see my room." "Lily, let Mrs. Morrison get settled first," Christopher laughed. They headed to the dining room, where Christopher had set an elegant but cozy table. Nothing too formal. He wanted Mrs. Morrison to feel comfortable. "Semaituntach," the lady murmured, looking at the set table. "Everything is so beautiful." "Rosie is having dinner with us too," Lily announced, placing the doll in a chair with a cushion. During dinner, Christopher observed the interaction between Lily and Mrs. Morrison. It was clear there was genuine affection between them, but it was also obvious that the lady was tired and that taking care of a 5-year-old was a challenge at her age. "Mrs. Morrison," Christopher began when they finished dessert, "I need to talk to you about Lily." The woman's expression became worried. "Did she do something wrong?" "No, not at all." "On the contrary." Christopher took a deep breath. "I want to adopt her." Silence filled the room. Mrs. Morrison blinked several times, processing the information. "Adopt her?" "Yes, legally. I want her to be my daughter in every sense of the word." Tears began to well up in the lady's eyes. "Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. You don't object?" "Object?" Mrs. Morrison laughed through her tears. "My boy, I prayed for this. I prayed for someone good to come into this girl's life. I love her like my own granddaughter, but I know she needs more than I can offer." Christopher felt an immense sense of relief. "You will always be part of our family," he said. "Lily needs you in her life." "That's right," Lily agreed. "You can visit any time, Mrs. Morrison, and you can sleep in the guest room whenever you want." Mrs. Morrison was crying openly now. "I never imagined. When Lily's mother died, I didn't know what to do. Such a little child and me so old. But I couldn't let her go to an orphanage." "And you did the right thing," Christopher said. "You saved her life, and now, together, we'll give her everything she deserves." "Can I see her room?" Mrs. Morrison asked. "Of course. Come on." Lily pulled the lady's hand. They went up to the 2nd floor. When Christopher opened the door to the princess room, Mrs. Morrison was speechless. "Good heavens," she murmured. The room was even more beautiful at night, with the special lights creating a starry sky effect on the ceiling. Lily showed her every detail: the carriage-shaped bed, the vanity where Rosie slept, the reading chair, the shelves filled with new books. "It's like a dream," Mrs. Morrison said, wiping her eyes. "And it's just the beginning," as Christopher said. "Lily will have the best education, every opportunity, all the love a child can have." They returned to the living room, where Christopher served tea, and they continued to talk about the next legal steps for the adoption. "Will it take long?" Lily asked. "On a few months for all the paperwork to be ready," Christopher explained. "But you're already my daughter in my heart. And you're already my daddy in my heart too." It was then that Lily did something neither of them expected. She got up from her chair, went to Christopher and climbed into his lap. "Daddy," she said clearly, looking directly into his eyes. Christopher felt as if time stood still. It was the first time she had called him Daddy, in front of someone else, making it all official and real. "Yes, my daughter. Thank you for choosing me." Thank you for letting me be your dad." Mrs. Morrison cried silently, witnessing the most important moment in both of their lives. "And Rosie has a family now too," Lily added, picking up the doll. "Rosie too," Christopher agreed, kissing Lily's forehead. They stayed like that for long minutes, Lily on Christopher's lap, Rosie in her arms, Mrs. Morrison smiling through her tears. It was a perfect picture of family, love, and a new beginning. "Do you know what this means?" Christopher asked. "What? It means you still have one wish to make, the fifth wish." Lily smiled, a mysterious smile that Christopher had learned to recognize. "I already know what it's going to be," she said. "What?" "It's a secret. But I promise it will be the most special one of all." Christopher hugged his daughter tighter, knowing that it didn't matter what the fifth wish was. He had already received everything he had ever wanted. A family, a purpose, a reason to live. "Daddy," Lily said again, testing the word. "Yes, I love you. I love you too, my princess." And in the dining room of a mansion that had finally become a home, a new family celebrated the beginning of their forever story. A week had passed since the official dinner with Mrs. Morrison. The adoption papers were already in process, and life in the mansion had found a perfect rhythm. Lily woke up every morning in her princess room, had breakfast with Christopher in the large kitchen, and they spent their days discovering what it was like to be a real family. Christopher had never been so happy. Waking up to the sound of Lily's little footsteps running down the hall, seeing her play in the garden with Rosie, listening to her talk about her dreams over breakfast, all of it had filled a void in his life he didn't even know existed. That Saturday morning, as they were having breakfast together, Christopher had an idea. "Lily," he said, watching her carefully eat pancakes so as not to get her floral dress dirty, "how about we visit a special place today?" "What place?" she asked, looking up with her blue eyes shining with curiosity. "The square where we met." Lily's face lit up completely. "Our special square." "Exactly. We haven't been there in a week. I miss our bench." "Me too." "Rosie misses it too, right, Rosie?" Lily said to the doll, who was sitting in a special high chair next to her. After breakfast, they got ready to leave. Lily insisted on bringing Rosie, of course, and chose to wear the floral dress, the same one she wore the day they met. "This dress is special," she explained as she looked at herself in the hall mirror. "It was the first present you gave me." Christopher smiled, remembering that day in the store when Lily had twirled in front of the mirror for the first time. The drive to the square was nostalgic. Christopher drove slowly, pointing out places they had passed together: the clothing store, the diner where they had their first snack, the toy store where Lily had chosen Rosie. "Look, Rosie," Lily would say, showing each place to the doll. "That's where Daddy bought your first dress, and that's where you were born." When they arrived at the square, Christopher felt a strange emotion. Everything was exactly as it had been on that first day. The same trees, the same fountain making the same soft sound, the same playground where other children played. "Our bench," Lily shouted, running toward the bench where Christopher had first sat just a few weeks ago. But it felt like it had been in another lifetime. The lonely man who had sat on that bench no longer existed. In his place was a father, a man with purpose, someone who had found his reason for living. "Can I sit in the same spot where I was that day?" Lily asked. Of course. Lily sat exactly where she had been that first time, on the bench across the square. Christopher sat on the bench where he had sat, and for a moment they recreated the scene of their first meeting. "Do you remember what you were thinking when you saw me?" Lily asked, hugging Rosie. "I remember perfectly," Christopher replied. I thought, why is such a little girl all alone? And I was worried. And I thought, who is this elegant man? I wonder if he's kind." Lily laughed. "You looked very serious." "I was serious. Very serious and very sad. And now?" Christopher looked at Lily, her blonde hair shining in the sun, her floral dress dancing in the breeze, Rosie well cared for in her arms, his daughter, his family. "Now I'm the happiest person in the world." They got up from their separate benches and sat together on the bench where Christopher had sat that first day. The same place where it all began. "It's funny," Lily said, swinging her little legs. "That day I was so lonely, and you were lonely too, right?" "Very lonely," and now neither of us is lonely anymore. Never again. They were silent for a few minutes, watching the life of the square happen around them. Children playing, parents pushing swings, couples walking, dogs running. Simple and beautiful life. "Daddy," Lily said suddenly. "Yes? I still have the fifth wish, right?" Christopher smiled. "You do. Have you decided what you want?" "Yes, but first I want to know something." "What?" Lily turned to look directly at him. "Or have you ever made a wish in your life?" The question caught Christopher by surprise. "What do you mean?" "You know, as a kid, when you blew out birthday candles, when you saw a shooting star, when you threw a coin in a fountain, did you ever make a wish?" Christopher thought for a moment. "When I was a kid, yes. I wished for normal things, toys, for it to rain on the day of the school picnic, things like that. And when you grew up?" "When I grew up, I stopped making wishes. I learned that if I wanted something, I had to work to get it." Lily nodded, as if understanding something profound. "And did it work? Did you get everything you wanted by working?" Christopher looked around the square, thinking about the question. "I got money, a big house, expensive cars, success in business. But I didn't get the most important thing." "What thing?" Christopher took a deep breath. It was time to say something that had been in his heart for days. "You see, Lily, you granted a wish of mine too." Lily's eyes widened. "I did." "Which wish?" Christopher held her little hands in his. "To be a father." The smile that lit up Lily's face was like the sunrise after the longest night. "Really? Really? All my adult life, I worked so much that I forgot to live. I built an empire, but I didn't build a family. I had everything money could buy, but I had no one to share it with." Lily listened attentively, holding Rosie tightly to her chest. "And then," Christopher continued, "one day I was walking aimlessly, feeling lost, and I came to this square, and I saw a little girl all alone, and something inside me woke up." "What woke up?" "The desire to take care of someone, to protect, to love without expecting anything in return, the desire to be a father." Tears began to appear in Lily's eyes. "And you didn't even know you were making my wish come true," Christopher said, his voice thick with emotion. "When you asked me to be your dad, you weren't just getting a family. You were giving me the chance to fulfill my life's dream. So I made your wish come true even before you made mine. Yes, the moment you ran to hug me in the park and asked if I could be your dad, my wish came true." Lily couldn't hold back her tears any longer. She carefully placed Rosie on the bench and jumped into Christopher's lap, hugging him with all the strength her 5-year-old legs could muster. "Daddy, I love you," she said against his chest. "I love you too, my daughter, more than you can imagine." They held each other for long minutes, on the same bench where it all began, with Rosie sitting beside them as a silent witness to the love that had transformed 2 lives. "You know what's funny?" Lily said when they separated. "What?" "You offered me 5 wishes, but it turns out I granted one of your wishes too. So it was actually 6 wishes." Christopher laughed, wiping his own tears. "You're right, 6 wishes in total. And I still have my 5th one." "You still do? What's it going to be?" Lily picked up Rosie again and looked around the square, the playground where other children played, the fountain where couples tossed coins, the trees where birds built their nests. "It's a very special wish," she said, "but I'll tell you later. For now, I just want to stay here with you and Rosie, in the place where our family began." Christopher hugged his 2 girls, Lily and Rosie, and looked at the square with completely different eyes. A few weeks ago, this place had represented loneliness and emptiness. Now it represented the beginning of the greatest adventure of his life. "Thank you, my daughter," he whispered. "For what?" "For granting my wish, for letting me be your father, for teaching me what really matters in life." Lily smiled and kissed his cheek. "Thank you for granting all my wishes, and for letting me grant yours too." They stayed in the square until the sun began to set, talking, laughing, remembering their first meeting and planning all the days to come. A family born from a chance encounter, strengthened by love and destined to last forever. The lonely man and the orphan girl had met in that square. A father and a daughter were leaving it, with a 5th wish still to be granted and a lifetime of happiness ahead. 2 weeks had passed since their return to the special square. Life in the mansion had found a perfect rhythm. Christopher woke up every day to the sound of Lily's little footsteps running down the hall, always accompanied by Rosie. The mornings began with breakfast together in the kitchen. That Tuesday morning, as Christopher was reading emails on his tablet and Lily was drawing in her notebook, she made a comment that caught his attention. "Daddy," she said, without looking up from her drawing. "The kids in the neighborhood are all going to school now." Christopher looked out the window and saw several children walking down the streets with colorful backpacks. That's right, the school year started this week. Lily continued drawing. It seemed to be the mansion with her, Christopher and Rosie in the garden. "Ward, it must be nice to learn new things every day," she murmured. "Would you like to learn new things?" Lily stopped drawing and looked at him with those blue eyes full of dreams. "I've always dreamed of going to school." The simplicity of the sentence hit Christopher as it always did. Lily had a way of saying the most important things so naturally. Always dreamed. Always. When I saw other kids in uniforms with backpacks, I would imagine what it would be like to sit at a desk, have a teacher, learn to read big books, find out why the sky is blue. She sighed, returning to her drawing. "Mommy always said that when I got a little older, she would put me in school, but then she got sick." Christopher felt his heart ache. "Lily," he said, closing his tablet, "how about we make another one of your dreams come true?" "What do you mean?" "What if I enroll you in a school, a very good school, where you can learn everything you've always wanted to?" Lily's eyes widened. "Really? A school just for me? Well, there will be other children too. But you'll have your own desk, your own books, your own teacher." Lily dropped her pencil and jumped out of her chair. "Can I really? Can I go to school?" "Of course you can. It's your right. And more importantly, it's your dream." Lily ran to hug him and then picked up Rosie. "Did you hear, Rosie? We're going to school." Christopher spent the next few days researching schools. He found the perfect one, Oakwood Elementary. It was small, with small class sizes and dedicated teachers. On the day of the visit, Lily chose to wear her floral dress and insisted on bringing Rosie, Mrs. Henderson, the principal, was a middle-aged woman with a warm smile that immediately put Lily at ease. "So this is Lily. And who is your friend?" "This is Rosie," Lily replied. "She likes to learn too." They visited the kindergarten classroom, where Lily was fascinated by everything: the colorful books, the puzzles, the art table. "How do the children do this every day?" she asked, impressed. "Every day," Mrs. Henderson confirmed. "They learn, they play, they make new friends, they discover new things." Lily looked at Christopher with shining eyes. "Can I start tomorrow?" "Let's get the paperwork done first," Christopher said. "Try, but you can start on Monday." "Monday?" Lily jumped with excitement. "Rosie, did you hear? On Monday we start our school adventure." The weekend was a fun preparation. Christopher took Lily to buy school supplies, and she took it all very seriously, choosing each item as if it were a treasure. They also bought school uniforms. Lily looked at herself in the mirror wearing the first uniform. "Now I look like a real student," she said, beaming. On Monday morning, Christopher found Lily already ready, sitting at the table with Rosie. "Good morning, Daddy. I'm ready for the first day of school." She was impeccable in her new uniform, her hair tied back with a blue ribbon. The drive to school was filled with excited chatter. "Do you think I'll make friends? Do you think the teacher will like Rosie?" Mrs. Henderson met them at the classroom door. "Good morning, Lily. Ready for your first school adventure?" "So ready," Lily replied, holding Rosie. Christopher knelt to say goodbye. "If you need anything, Mrs. Henderson will call me." "Okay, Daddy. Rosie and I are brave." The first few weeks were magical. Every day, Lily came home overflowing with stories. "Daddy, I learned that 2 + 2 = 4, and that birds build nests to protect their eggs." Christopher became the most involved father in the world. He helped with homework every night, celebrating every achievement. The afternoons took on a cozy routine. Lily would come home from school, have lunch, rest in her princess room, and then they would do homework in the library. Christopher had turned part of the library into Lily's study corner, a small table, a comfortable chair, shelves with school books. Rosie needs to study too, Lily would always say, placing the doll in a little chair beside her. The evenings were dedicated to reading. They would snuggle up in the armchair in Lily's room, with Rosie between them, exploring magical worlds through books. "Daddy," Lily said one night, "did you know that reading is like watching a movie, but in your head?" "You're right. That's exactly what it's like." A month later, Christopher received a call from Mrs. Henderson. "Mr. Hayes, I'd like to talk about Lily. Can you come to the school?" Christopher's heart raced. Did something happen? Nothing negative. In fact, it's something very positive. The next day, Christopher sat in the principal's office. "Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Henderson began, Lily is an extraordinary student. In just 1 month, she has stood out. She has an impressive natural curiosity and is kind to everyone." Christopher sighed in relief. "Most importantly," the principal continued, "she radiates joy. She transforms any environment just by being present." Christopher felt his eyes well up with tears of pride. "I wanted you to know that you have a very special daughter." That afternoon, when he told Lily about the conversation, she was thrilled. "Really? Mrs. Henderson said that?" "She did. I'm so proud of you." "Rosie is proud too." "Right, Rosie," Lily said, hugging the doll. It was at that moment the doorbell rang. Christopher went to open it and found Mrs. Morrison at the door holding a basket. "Mrs. Morrison," Lily shouted, running to hug the elderly lady. "Hello, dear, I brought you some cookies." "Please, come in," Christopher said, smiling. "It's been a while since we've seen you." "I didn't want to disturb you while you were settling into your new life," Mrs. Morrison explained. "But I missed you." "You never disturb us," Christopher said sincerely. "You're part of our family." They sat in the living room, and Lily immediately began to talk about school, show her notebooks, and talk about her friends. "My, how you've changed," Mrs. Morrison said, amazed. "You seem like a completely different girl." "I have changed. I'm a student now. And I live in a beautiful house. And I have a dad who loves me very much." Christopher watched the interaction and felt immense gratitude for the elderly woman. "Mrs. Morrison," he said, gently interrupting, "I need to tell you something." "What is it, my boy?" Christopher stood up and took the lady's hands. "Thank you for taking care of my daughter when I wasn't here yet. You saved her life. And because of that, she was able to save mine too." Mrs. Morrison started to cry. "Now, you can count on me for anything you need, forever. You are the grandmother Lily never had." Unexpectedly, they found themselves in an emotional embrace. Christopher, Lily, and Mrs. Morrison. 3 people who had found in each other the family they needed. "Group hug," Lily shouted. "Rosie wants to join too." She picked up the doll and included it in the hug, laughing through her tears. "You know what we're going to do?" Christopher said when they separated. "We're going to have a picnic in the garden. The 4 of us, me, Lily, you, and Rosie." "A picnic!" Lily clapped her hands. "I'll go get the special blanket." An hour later, they were spread out on a plaid blanket in the garden. Christopher had made sandwiches, Mrs. Morrison had brought cookies, and Lily had made on sandwiches for Rosie. The sun was setting, casting a golden light over the garden. Lily was lying on the grass, reading a schoolbook aloud to Rosie. Christopher and Mrs. Morrison were talking about future plans. "I never imagined I could be this happy," Christopher murmured, watching Lily patiently explain the book's character to Rosie. "God has his plans," Mrs. Morrison said, smiling. Sometimes he brings the right people together at the right time." "Daddy, Mrs. Morrison," Lily called out, "come listen to this part. It's about a family that finds each other." They lay down on the grass next to Lily, all looking up at the sky, which was showing the first stars. "Do you know what I think when I look at the stars?" Lily said. "What?" Christopher asked. "Shall I think that every star is a wish that came true? And look how many stars there are. That means a lot of wishes have come true." Christopher smiled, pulling his daughter closer. "And some of the most beautiful wishes came true right here, in this garden, with this family." Mrs. Morrison held Lily's hand, who held Christopher's hand, forming a chain of love and gratitude. "And Rosie too," Lily added, placing the doll in the center of the circle. There, under the starry sky, In the garden of a mansion that had become a home, 3 people and 1 special doll silently celebrated the most unlikely and most perfect family that had ever existed. From the simplest of encounters, the greatest of riches was born, a family. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.